What is Bitcoin? Part 1. Next on your
4-Minute Bitcoin.
Welcome to part 1 in my series, What is Bitcoin? And let me give you a warning, this episode, well, it's more than 4 minutes long. Today's show was brought to you by Swan Bitcoin. Now, in order to understand Bitcoin, you must first understand what money is. So what is money? Everybody uses money. Everyone has some money. But what exactly is money? Well, money is really just part of a system to help with the exchanging of products and services. So let's go back and start with bartering. Now, bartering itself is great. With bartering, you might trade something with your neighbor, like apples for a chicken. Bartering, well, it really works well, but in our example of apples and chickens, the person receiving the chickens, he may soon decide he doesn't want any more chickens since he can breed chickens and end up with as many chickens as he wants. Now, at the same time, the guy with the apples, well, he may also decide he doesn't want any more apples since he can plant the apple seeds, grow apple trees, and have as many apples as he wants. So, in this case, they both need to use something as a medium of exchange. In other words, if I give you something of value, you would give me this medium of exchange in return for it. Then I can take that medium of exchange you gave me and give it to someone else for another product or another service that I may want or need. Now, throughout history, many things have served the purpose of a medium of exchange. Almost everything from seashells to salt to precious metals. Fun fact for you, did you know the term worth his weight in salt? That term comes from the Roman days. At one point in time, the Roman soldiers were paid in salt. You see, salt was used as a preservative for food, and it was kind of hard to get, so it made a great sound money at the time. But as salt got easier and easier to get, the less value it had as a medium of exchange. Now, precious metals such as gold and silver, well, they've probably been the most common item used for money over the centuries. The fact is that gold and silver are rare and in limited supply. That helps them serve as a great medium of exchange and a store of value too. Now, sometimes I do question the entire limited supply thing. I mean, they've been mining gold since like forever, and they still have none run out. In fact, they seem to keep finding more and more gold and silver all the time. And now they're talking about mining the ocean floor and asteroids that come by. But for thousands of years, gold and silver work pretty well as a medium of exchange. You can weigh it, or you can smelt it and make it into coins, and it's pretty easy to assign a value to gold and silver. Now let's advance to the future. Let's go to the United States. Paper dollars, they were originally gold or silver certificates. In other words, paper dollars, well, they were a piece of paper that said you own some gold or you own some silver, and that gold or silver was being kept safe in a vault by the U.S. government. Now, here's a real old dollar bill that states on it that it is a silver certificate, and it also states that it's good for $1 worth of silver payable to the bearer upon demand. So at any time, you could take your paper dollars to the United States government and exchange them for $1 worth of gold or silver. If it was a $5 certificate, $5 worth, and so on and so on. So people weren't really trusting the paper money. Instead, they were technically, I guess, trusting the government to hold their gold and silver. The paper money was just making it easier to use and a lot less weight to carry around. Because I imagine carrying around a bag of gold or silver got pretty heavy and pretty tiring and carrying around. Probably wore holes in your pockets. But the government decided to start screwing around with our money. In the 1960s, the United States government took the silver out of our coins. I still remember when I was a kid, maybe in about third grade, quarters were solid silver up till when I was in third grade. Then in about third grade, they started coming out with these new quarters that had a little silver on both sides and a lot of copper in the middle, kind of like a silver copper sandwich. So they took the silver out of our quarters, dimes, half dollars, silver dollars, etc. in the 60s. Then came the 70s, and President Nixon, also known as Tricky Dick, pulled the biggest trick of all. He took the United States off the gold standard. Now, from what I've seen interviews from people at the time, it was supposed to be a temporary thing, but since no one complained, it's still in effect today. Now, what is the gold standard? The gold standard, it was invented by Isaac Newton. That's right. Isaac Newton, the same guy that discovered gravity in the 1600s. It's a system where the value of currency is defined in terms of gold, for which the currency can be exchanged. So there was supposed to be, I guess, some gold in Fort Knox for every dollar printed. Now, that's really the key word there. The gold standard, made by Isaac Newton, worked great for many, many years, but thanks to President Nixon, the United States no longer uses the gold standard. Instead, the United States dollar is a currency that the U.S. government has declared as legal tender. It's not backed by anything except the word and I guess the military of the U.S. government. It's surprising how many people I talk to every day that think the United States dollar is still backed by gold. But if you are under the age of 50, the United States dollar has never been backed by gold during your entire lifetime. And since the dollar is no longer backed by gold, the United States government, well, you got it, they can print as many dollars as they want. And I'm sure you know what happens when you tell a government they can print as much money as they could possibly want. They do it. They print trillions and trillions of dollars, which we're really starting to see happen now in these modern times. The US dollar is now a fiat currency, but so is the euro, the yen, and the rest of the paper money in the world. If you're not familiar with the term fiat, it's a Latin word, which means it shall be. I guess the term is used for paper money because the United States government or any government says that paper money shall be used as legal tender. Now, the actual definition of fiat money is inconvertible paper money made legal tender by a government decree. So the United States government has said, forget about gold and forget about silver. All you really need is paper money. And I guess that seems to be good enough since we're all using fiat money every day and we're not complaining. I still can't believe they didn't complain in the 70s. But that's the way it goes. Now, the biggest disadvantages of fiat money is the fact that it allows government, as I said, to print as much money as they want or need. Since it's not backed by gold or silver or anything else, there's really nothing to stop them. Now, this was a short overview of money and how it went from being backed by gold to just being plain old everyday fiat, not backed by anything. And now you should have a basic understanding of money and how it's progressed. I'll start explaining Bitcoin on the next episode of What is Bitcoin, or my special episodes of What is Bitcoin. Please let me know your thoughts about this episode in the comments. And this episode is brought to you by Swan Bitcoin. Swan Bitcoin allows you to buy Bitcoin with dollar cost averaging, and most people would agree that's the best way to buy Bitcoin. And you can buy as little as $10 worth of Bitcoin at a time. I'm an advisor to Swan and even own a small piece of the company, so you know I'm going to love what they do. If you use the link swanbitcoin.com/Gary, you can receive $10 worth of Bitcoin free. So take a look at swanbitcoin.com/Gary today. I'm Gary Leland, the Bitcoin Boomer, and thanks for joining me on another 4-Minute Bitcoin Show.
This is a BitBlockBoom.com production.